Guys, so it's now going on 10 after 4 right now in the afternoon on Monday, getting done with the last hour or so of work, but I wanted to update you guys. I have about 15 minutes left of The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is going to be a 3 out of 5 stars. It's fine, it's cool, I like some of the characters. It's not hitting in the way I had wanted it, but I do like a lot of the messages that are within it, with it being a middle grade, which is about how things might not always be as they seem, and just because a lot of people say that somebody is quote-unquote evil doesn't necessarily mean that's true. But if you don't know, this is a middle grade story that basically is about a young girl who basically is adopted by this witch who everybody thinks steals babies from this town. And what really happens is that that witch takes those babies to another town and gives them to families who are looking to have children but can't. And what she normally does is she basically gives them starlight to feed them, but on accident with this girl that she then calls Luna, she gives her moonlight, which then gives her a bunch of abilities and a lot of stuff. And then you learn that in this town, the reasons why they think that giving up babies every single year is necessary, and you learn that there are a lot of things going on under the surface of what's, being seen in this town. And it's a really interesting story. I like a lot of the elements, but it's just not really given me what I was hoping for. But this is my final book I need to complete for Orillium, which was to complete my Shapeshifting class, the first level of that. So after this is done, in like 15 minutes basically, I'll be done with my set TBR for the month. And then basically what I'll be doing for the rest of the month is reading something that I'm not going to count for anything for August, but the pages are going to go into September, which is going to be reading Ophelia After All by Racquel Marie. This is my other back burner book. That is one of my 2022 releases I've been really excited for. And that's basically just to get me through the rest of the month, because today is the 29th, so I only have, today and then 2 more days of the month before, we're done. And with the fact that I'll be having all my TBR stuff done, why not just pick up something that's going to be easy, fun, and get me through the next couple of days. But I really wanted to come on because I have a very exciting little package from a RedBubble. Now this is a RedBubble account that is through a couple friends of mine, Dr. Professor Amel and her partner Allie. They have a little RedBubble shop where they have a lot of stickers and other merch, so I grabbed a ton of stickers from their shop just to support. I found out about it when I was on my friend Bree from Bree Cherie Reads Sprints. I want to say last Wednesday, something like that. Oh, they're so cute. So they come on like little things of photo paper, but Oscar is currently playing out in the living room with my husband, but first one that we have here says Fall and Coffee and Books. And then there's a couple here. One says Impatiently Waiting for Halloween All Year Long. And the other one is a coffin that says Still Finishing My TBR. And then one that says Audiobooks Are Reading, because they do count as reading. And then one here says Book collecting and reading are 2 different hobbies and both happen to be my hobbies, which is very much me. This is assigned to DNF that book. DNFing is self-care, which I totally agree with. And all my mentors are booktubers. Also very true. Can't do chores without audiobooks. This is very much my life now. Will work for books. I wish that this was the case with my life, that I would be paid in books, because I would buy them anyway with my own money. One says, I don't have a hoarding problem. No problem at all. They're books. And then a coffin bookshelf says spooky book enthusiast. As one that says always reading, always ready for Halloween, with like a little stack of books and a skull. And then bookworm and Halloween fan, because y'all know I love my Halloween. Book on here that says you have life goals. I have Goodreads goals. And then I love sprints, the reading kind, not the running kind, because we all love our sprints. Another one that says just one more chapter. And then booktube and chill, which I think this is so cute. They did such a good job with the design of these. This one says ask me about my booktube channel. I love this one because I was just talking about this in a meeting earlier today with work. And then one that says adding it to my endless TBR. Yes. And then the last two I loved so much. The first one is a little timer here that says here for the sprints, and then a laptop that says #booktube. These are so cute. I love these so much. So very excited to have these from Allie and ML. So I will leave the link to the RedBubble shop down in the description for you guys to go check them out if you would like to go support. They're super awesome, and I love the fact that they actually come on sheets like this where, like, you know, you get two on these sheets. It's really helpful, at least for me to keep better track of them, because like I have a lot of single stickers that I've got from other shops where they can get lost very easily, whereas these will not get as lost as easily. But I'm also going to keep them in the envelope that I got, so that I can go ahead and stash these probably down here on my shelf. I don't know what I'm going to put them on as of now. I think I'm going to like figure that out as I go, whether it's going to be on like my laptop or on my next reading journal. I don't really know. We'll kind of figure that out, you know, like I said, as we go. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish up The Girl Who Drank the Moon, and then tonight I need to film my August wrap-up after I get done with work, to edit and get that uploaded so that it is ready for Friday, because that is the last video I needed to get done this week, but I had to wait until I finished The Girl Who Drank the Moon before I can film that. And so now that that is basically done, I can go upstairs after work and film that video and get that all taken care of, and that's going to basically be my evening. So I don't know how much I'm going to get through of Ophelia after all, but at the very least I hope to get through maybe like 50 pages of this by the end of the night, because like I said, it's a pretty short book. It's a YA contemporary. It's like 335 pages. So this could be easily cranked out in like a couple of days. And I have an Oscar here who wants to say hello. You want to say hi, buddy? You want to say hi to everybody? Go kiss. Come here, Bubba. Nope. He's going to take his toy and run off, but you can see his tail. So, hi, buddy. No, I'm not going to play with you right now. But, anyway, so that's going to be it for me for right now. We don't have really, in terms of much going on this week. It's just kind of a normal week. Next Monday is Labor Day, which is going to be nice. That means that next week I'm going to have a 4-day week. That's going to be it for me for today. I think I'm going to just check in with you guys tomorrow when I actually have a actual reading update, and kind of just give you guys an idea of how I'm thinking about Ophelia after all, because why not? Hey guys, so it is 10 to 2 in the afternoon. I'm finishing up some work here before I take a break, but wanted to update you guys on a couple of things. First of which being that this vlog is going to actually end up going through this entire week, and it's just going to basically be ending off Orillium and Witchathon, since I finished my last read for Orillium on Monday, and I also had already completed my Witchathon stuff for August, end of last week. And we're going to roll basically into Bookoplothon, and the kind of bridging book within that is going to be Ophelia After All, which currently I am on page 51. I read the first 3 chapters, and this is so stinking cute. It's the most down-to-earth kind of story I've read in a while for contemporary, because I feel like Racquel is hitting a lot of very big things in terms of like how I grew up, because, and it's so funny because Racquel herself is a Latina, and there's a lot of Latinx influences involved in this, with the main character also being a Latina, and the main love interest that's already popped up here being one as well. And it's just so funny because I see myself in Ophelia a lot, with the fact that, you know, she's kind of not in one particular group. She kind of floats between a lot of different people when it comes to friend groups, and she's also like a little insecure about some things, even though she doesn't really need to be, and she also tends to overthink a lot of things. Like those are just some really big things that are hitting for me right now. But if you don't know what Ophelia After All is, it is a YA contemporary that basically takes this girl named Ophelia, who is named after the Hamlet character, and it is basically approaching the end of her senior year. Prom is coming up, and she's realizing that she's kind of falling for this girl that she hasn't really known much about since she moved to town, but she's also always been like, you know, invested in being with a boy, and she's always had kind of like that daydream thing go off all the time where, you know, when she started getting kind of boy obsessed, like planning out her own wedding, you know, that kind of thing, which again is another thing I tended to do when I was a lot younger. So again, I relate very much to Ophelia, and it's just really interesting because I feel like Ophelia is kind of like Racquel's way of putting herself in her own story, because Ophelia feels so real. I don't even know Racquel personally, but the way that she has created Ophelia and she's created her like dynamics with all her friends, she feels so real, which is why I think I'm also connecting with her a lot more than I expected, because of the fact that she feels like an actual real person that I either would be or be friends with. And basically the story is kind of her coming to terms with her sexuality through this relationship she develops with Talia, and kind of a lot of things involved within that. Talia mentions something about the fact that in her family, because she's half Puerto Rican, half black, her Puerto Rican family tends to think that she has to kind of be set in a very specific gender role, a very traditional gender role, and that kind of rubs Talia the wrong way because of the fact that she dresses differently, she hangs out with boys all the time because she doesn't have very many girlfriends, and her father's side of the family basically thinks that, you know, that's not okay, she should be acting more effeminate, she should be acting more like a normal quote-unquote girl. And Ophelia doesn't necessarily 100% relate to that, only in the sense that she doesn't think that her family is asking her to, you know, adhere to a certain role, but she does relate to the fact that her mother's side of the family that is white, whereas her father is Cuban, her white family tends to be very judgmental about the fact that her father is Cuban. She makes a mention of how the only people she interacts with on her mom's side are her mom's parents, and that's because most of the other family that she would see on a regular basis is not super welcoming of her father and then therefore her. So there's an interesting kind of like dynamic there that could be explored further on in terms of like the connection between Talia and Ophelia. But from the synopsis, is basically, it says that, you know, with prom coming up and her senior year coming to an end, you know, she's having to make a decision about whether or not she wants to kind of play more with the fantasy thought that she had growing up of how her life was going to be, or if she's going to come down from the clouds and really stay more grounded and end up actually being the authentic person she wants to be. Because she wants to be authentic, but she also wants that kind of fantasy element within her life as well, because, you know, especially when young girls are growing up, they're very much taught to be placed in certain boxes. They are taught throughout their life that they are to meet these certain expectations, and especially when you're somebody that's questioning, like Ophelia is to some extent throughout this, you know, that can be really hard to navigate. I know that was very hard for me to navigate when I was trying to figure out my own sexuality growing up, but thankfully mine was not as difficult in the sense that I still remained in a heterosexual relationship despite having sexual attraction to other people of my gender or other genders, because of the fact that, you know, I didn't necessarily want to break up with my then boyfriend when I was, you know, figuring this stuff out, and now that man is my husband, and I still don't want to ever, you know, leave my husband. I still have love for my husband. I'm still attracted to my husband. I just also now tend to have this thing where I find other people very attractive. I find other women very attractive. I find non-binary people and trans people very attractive, even if I don't necessarily know that they are non-binary or trans, but I just find people attractive. And that doesn't change any the fact that I'm still very much in love with my husband, but it is something that is difficult to navigate because it is something that is different than what people kind of see as being, you know, in the boxes of a cis heterosexual person. And that can be like I said, really difficult to try to, like, for one, explain to people, because some people don't really understand that, and they don't understand that kind of perspective, why it is that you are thinking in this way as opposed to what is the more quote-unquote traditional way. And so I think that this is going to be a really interesting book, exploring kind of that questioning and that navigating of figuring out who somebody is when they're, especially Ophelia's age, when they're a very young, you know, adult, somebody that is getting ready to make their life from here as an adult, and having to really figure out who it is that they want to be growing up. Do they want to placate to that fantasy that, you know, was instilled in them as a kid, that is, you know, perpetuated by the traditional values that are set up in your community and in your environment, or is she going to live more authentically? That seems to be starting to come out here at the very beginning of this, because like I said, I'm not very far, but I can already see that Ophelia has a lot of things about herself that I think she is kind of downplaying, and I think that she's downplaying it in order to not seem as kind of out there to people, because one of the things that she is well known for in her school is the fact that she is a massive gardener. She has a rose garden that she takes care of, that she obsesses over, that she is like super passionate about, and she's going to be going to college to study botany. And that's very weird for a lot of people. That's something that was like kind of bizarre. It's not something I've even really heard of. Like I know botany is a study that you can get into, but I don't know very many people who go into that willingly kind of a thing, unless it's something like, you know, they want to create their own flower shop. They want to actually go into becoming a, you know, scientist or a researcher of some kind, whereas Ophelia doesn't really know what she wants to do with botany. She just knows that she doesn't want to focus on anything other than botany when she goes to college. And so this is going to be a really interesting book. I think this is definitely going to hit a lot more notes with me as a young woman who had to really question on her sexuality for a good long period of her life, and coming to grips with what her sexuality is. So enjoying this so far. This was one of my anticipated 2022 reads of the year. I think this one also came out in February, like around the time that Extasia did. Finally did get information about Greek Godathon. I had mentioned in my September TBR that at the time I was filming, there wasn't really any information yet for Greek Godathon, which was being hosted by Esme from Bookish Buddies. And today, literally I just watched it a few minutes ago, there was the announcement video for the readathon. Now it is taking place in the very last week of September, from the 23rd to the 30th, and there are 5 total prompts, but 3 main ones and 2 bonus ones that you can do throughout the week. And I managed to actually get one of my books to fill up 2 of the prompts I needed. And then I did decide on adding 3 more books to my TBR, but they're all fairly short that I probably could use them as kind of a back burner kind of idea, and still get through them, you know, for the readathon, and then having my Darker Shade of Magic books be kind of like that further back burner book, if you will. The Mini Greek Godathon is inspired by the story of Pandora's Box, and the prompts are here. I will show that to you guys. But the first one is The Beauty of the Box, which for the prompt, it's to read a beautiful cover or title. And for this, I'm going to be picking The Sword of Kaigan because I love this cover. It is so beautiful, and I just love all of the blues and like the darker colors coming into this. And this is also going to be counting for the prompt of Turn the Key, which is to read something that's either in a new world or is a portal fantasy of some kind. And I don't really know the world that's going on in this. I'm sure that it's going to explain in some capacity where it's supposed to be, but it's basically a new fantasy to me, so therefore it is a new world I'm getting into. Now the next prompt, and the final required one to read in a sense for the readathon, is Unleash Its Evil, which is to read a book with either a villain origin or a large villain in the story. And for this I did decide to continue the Descender graphic novel series by reading Descender Volume 4, Orbital Mechanics. Now, the villain that's involved in this is more of a group of people, like it's a rebellion that is looking to take over the galaxies, so that worked out pretty well. And it's also a graphic novel, so it'll be very short for me to fly through. Now, the 2 bonus prompts are basically, like I said, bonus ones, so you don't have to do them, but if you can, you know, they are able to be done, and they also have to be done in a certain order. So the first one is Redemption, which is to read a TBR vet, and for that one, I decided to grab one of my other anticipated reads from this year, which was The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. More so, this came out in the early part of 2022, and I know that The Atlas Paradox is going to be coming out here really soon. Like, I want to say it's in October it's coming out, but I still need to read this one before The Atlas Paradox comes out, so I figured I would throw this on here because I've heard some pretty good things for the most part about this, and I think that I'm going to really enjoy it. And then the last prompt is Surrender, which is to read a book that is outside of your comfort zone. Now this one I did pick a nonfiction because I don't read a lot of nonfiction, and so I would consider that to be outside of my comfort zone. But for this I decided to pick up one I've been meaning to read for a while that I think is going to be really important, especially with how things have gone recently in the last couple of weeks. If you've paid attention to any of the news involving Barnes & Noble with their issue of basically discrediting any BIPOC author, especially debut author. But I decided to pick up White Rage by Carol Anderson, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide. I've been meaning to get through a backlog of books that are about, you know, racial issues in the US specifically. I remember that when there were a lot of books being recommended for people that were looking to read books about race and race theory and all these things during the George Floyd murder that had happened in 2020, and then therefore the marches that were going on. This was kind of at the top of the list for the most part. I think that this was a lot of people's recommendation. So this basically says, since 1865 and the passage of the 13th Amendment, every time African Americans have made advances toward full participation in our democracy, white reaction has fueled a deliberate, relentless rollback of any gains. Carefully linking historical flashpoints from the post-Civil War black codes to expressions of white rage after the election of America's first black president, Anderson renders visible the long lineage of white rage and the different names under which it hides. Compelling and dramatic in the unimpeachable history it relates, White Rage adds a vital new dimension to the national conversation about race in America. Very excited for this, but yeah, those 3 books are basically going to be added onto the TBR, and then like I said, The Sword of Kaigan is going to be completing 2 prompts for that, and The Sword of Kaigan I already am slated to read at the end of September because I did go through and already plan out my reading schedule for September because I'm a fucking mad woman, and I can't function without knowing how much exactly I'm going to be reading and what I'm going to be reading in what order every single month. I have to. Otherwise, it's just my brain cannot function unless I do that. And I have to color code it too because my brain does not work if I don't do those things. So just a little bit. I'm just a little bit of a particular person, I guess I'll say. But that's going to be it for me for right now. I don't really have much else I can update you on because it's kind of that weird limbo period between the end of this month and going into September because I'm, like I said, done with Orillium and Witchathon, and now I'm just waiting for September 1st to hit for Bookoplothon to start. But I will let you guys know maybe tomorrow how much more I get into Ophelia after all, because I really just started this today. I probably can get through a lot of this today and then tomorrow finish it up, so that'll be really nice because then I can end the month with this, but any pages that are going to be read for this are going to be pushed into September's page count. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get to reading some of this on my break. I got a little bit of time left. I'm basically just going to read the next chapter, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow when I have a little bit more of an update. Hey guys, so it's about 1:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday, and last night I did end up finishing Ophelia After All by Racquel Marie, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this so much. It was so sweet, and just as I had hoped, it really explored a lot about the idea of questioning sexuality and really trying to figure out who you are, especially when you are about, 17, 16 years old. You're figuring out yourself, you're figuring out what it is that you want to do with your life, and in a lot of cases, especially when you get to be close to people, especially like you go to school with and stuff like that, how you have to sometimes figure out who do you want to love, who do you, see yourself as in terms of like your gender identity and sometimes your sexual identity, if you decide to even label those at all, because labeling is never a requirement to experiencing life. So this just really, I think, hit a lot of the same notes that I remember when I had read More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. That was really touching for me, and again, really spoke to that whole thing about questioning and how sometimes even if you don't know whether or not you fall under one kind of umbrella or another in terms of like sexual identity, for instance, it doesn't matter. Every person's journey when it comes to understanding themselves and their sexual identity and what they find attractive and what they find that they want to do in terms of what kind of partner they want, it's different for every person, and it changes. It is a very fluid thing where sometimes you might think that you are attracted to a certain kind of people, and then later on you realize that you're actually more attracted to a different kind of person. It's a very fluid and dynamic thing that changes over time, and I really appreciate how Racquel, being a person on the LGBTQ spectrum herself, so this is an own voice's story, really played into that. And I think I said before too in this vlog that it really felt like Racquel put herself into Ophelia so much, because Ophelia felt like an actual real person, somebody that I could relate with, and somebody also that I feel like would be relatable to a lot of people. There's this kind of thing with authors sometimes that they tend to self-insert themselves into their own characters without meaning to, because what they're writing on might be something that they're very passionate about, or something that they are still trying to figure out themselves, or they might be writing something in the hopes that it is somebody that will be relatable to somebody else, and so they unintentionally sometimes put a little piece of them to make them feel more relatable into their characters. And I really feel like Ophelia is that extension of Racquel, to the point where I feel like Ophelia is an actual real life human being, if that makes sense. Like the way that she comes off the page, the way that she, you know, has these issues, and the way that she deals with them, very similar to I think how most teenagers would deal with things that are when they're going through a lot of this, you know, friendship problems and figuring themselves out and trying to figure out what it is that they want with the rest of their life. This just really, I think, hit a lot of the marks for me that I was hoping for when it came to a story that, from the synopsis, discussed the idea of there being this questioning aspect that was going to play into the biggest part of the plot. And I just feel like this was such a beautiful story. Similar to how I felt with Extasia when I finished that, I need to get a copy of this. I want a copy of this one, though, more so to, I think, like with Extasia, annotate it for specific like reasons with that one, but this one it's more of I want to annotate specific lines so that I can remember those lines for when I, you know, might be struggling, and especially if I have children and they get to a point where, you know, they might be questioning their own identities and figuring out what it is that they want. I could maybe refer them to this book and specific parts of the book so that they can kind of read them and maybe understand, you know, something different. And I don't know, just I feel like this is a book that I would like to, again, reread a lot. Because it's a very warm and fuzzy story, but it also hits some really important aspects. I will place though trigger warnings for obviously things like homophobia, because that is a given whenever you read something that is about people on the LGBTQ spectrum, whether it's about their questioning or it involves characters of that, you know, matter. There's always going to be somebody or multiple people in a story who are going to showcase homophobia, because the author has to actually, you know, flesh out this world. And not everybody in society, like real life, is accepting of people on the LGBTQ spectrum. There are communities of people who are very much against those, and it's nice to see though in these stories that does get challenged, that it gets brought up as an actual thing, because unfortunately while it can be, you know, kind of triggering for some people, it is a fact of life. Unfortunately, it is a fact of life for anybody that is on, you know, that spectrum, that there are going to be people who are going to try to challenge that are going to try to say that it is, you know, something that is damnable, that is evil, or something to that effect. And it's kind of an opportunity for the author to then also either showcase how certain characters have an internalized kind of homophobia, especially if they are questioning their own sexuality, if they are unsure of, you know, their own fears in terms of coming out or whatever the case may be. But it's also an opportunity for, you know, our main character who might be questioning to kind of really sift through that and understand that the people that are homophobic just are incapable of understanding to their level, the individual level, what it means to either be gay, be bisexual, be pansexual, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of just an opportunity for us as a reader to see not only the real life aspects played into these stories, but again, to really kind of, I think, exemplify the main character into how their thought process is, and then other characters understanding, you know, whether or not they may have their own struggles when it comes to their own sexuality, the acceptance of that, whether or not they do feel kind of internalized homophobia because of either the environment they grew up in or what they were taught or whatever. It's just a really interesting thing to kind of look into when it comes to these books, and I think it really really hits the nail on the head for me. So anyway, I've been talking about this and gushing about it long enough. I'll stop talking about it, but that is the last thing I'm going to really finish in August. And again, this is going to go towards anything page-wise for September. It is technically March is my first book read for September, and that's fine. I'm just going to talk about it in the wrap-up for that month. But what I will be going through next is Darker Shade of Magic. This is going to be for my next Finish Your DNF series. I still have time before September 1st hits, which is tomorrow. I figured I would at least get started with this for the next Finish Your DNF project because the video for this will be coming out in October. And so it's going to take me some time, especially because I have to read all 3 of these books, or at the very least attempt trying to read the books. But I am going to get started on that vlog here in a little while so that I can get that video started so that, you know, it's started and ready to go. But then tomorrow I will be picking up my first reads for Bookoplothon in September. So I just figured I'd end the month out with this. So there's that. But that's going to be it for me for right now. I will talk to all you guys tomorrow when I've officially got started with my Bookoplothon TBR, because I'm not going to really update much on the Darker Shade of Magic series in this set of vlogs. It'll be, like I said, in its own separate video. Okay, I will talk to all you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, so I hope I'm in frame of this. The viewfinder on my camera now no longer shows any image when I flip it up. I think this camera is starting to slowly die. Well, I say slowly. The viewfinder on that camera has been very quickly dying, but the camera itself is still functioning, and the image that I see when I go to edit is perfectly fine. It's just for some reason the flip screen, I think it's just basically because this camera is fairly old and needs to like be fixed or something, but I don't even know the first thing that I could even do to fix it, let alone otherwise just taking it to a camera shop to have them fix it. But anyway, neither here nor there. I did want to update you guys though, because I did just finish my first read for Bookoplothon, because it is Bookoplothon Day! Yay! It's the 1st of September. It's currently just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have had a very busy day, but it's been a pretty okay day. I did spend a couple hours on the phone with Adri and Liv doing some prepping for a possible week-long readathon for Battle of the Bookish that'll be taking place at the end of October. So for those of you that are fans of the Battle of the Bookish readathon, do expect an announcement here in the coming weeks, probably with my October TBRs. So either way though, today it's been a very busy day. I did though, like I said, just finish that comic book real quick. So that already kicks off one of my prompts for Bookoplothon, as well as one of my prompts for the Wheel of D20 for September, which I do still need to film the clip, the intro clip for that. But for the Wheel of D20, the Critical Role Vox Machina Origins 3 Issue 2 was completing the prompt for a book with 2 or more authors, and then for Bookoplothon, for the set of rules that I did to set my TBR for Bookoplothon, was to read a LGBTQIAP+ book, because one of the main characters in the Vox Machina story is basically a bisexual character. Now, this one really wasn't like too much. It was very fun, do not get me wrong. 5 out of 5 stars, loved it. But this one in particular is kind of more of a filler, because of the fact that at the end of the first issue, we learn that Vox Machina is going to be partaking in basically a battle royale of sorts. They're going to basically be going through rounds of fighting to then earn money that they need to continue living, basically. And this second issue was basically them going through the 3 rounds of fighting that they had to do, and the fact that they ended up winning overall, which was really exciting. I am more than certain that it was much more entertaining to watch the fights go on during the D&D campaign, but all of these origin story comic books and graphic novels are before Vox Machina was made into a D&D campaign that was then live streamed on Twitch. So all of this is like backstory for what we already know of Vox Machina. It's kind of like I said, the origins of them and how they came together as a team and all these things. But I'm sure that the actual campaign aspect of this entire issue was really, really fun. And it was really cute. I liked it. I love anything to do with this series, because every time I read the graphic novels and anything to do with the characters themselves, I just hear the actual people that play these characters very clearly in my head, which always makes it much more enjoyable. So Loved it, 5 out of 5 stars, definitely enjoyed that, and I now have 2 things completed for the entire month, which is very exciting. What I'll be working on next is not only another Bookoplothon prompt, but is also another Wheel of D20 prompt, and it's going to be I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This is her memoir that was just released in August, and I've heard really good things about it. I've heard that it's very heart-wrenching for a lot of people, and it's very aggravating to read some of the things that happened. So I don't know whether I'm going to fly through this or if it's going to be a little harder for me to get through it. I'm not exactly sure, but either way, I think I'm going to enjoy this. For the Wheel of D20, this is the Gabby pick. That was one of the prompts I got for the wheel. And then for Bookoplothon, this is completing the prompt of the highest rated book that was on my TBR. So yeah, that's basically it for right now. That's all I can really say, because I haven't even started I'm Glad My Mom Died yet. I just, like I said, finished the comic book, so I gotta go ahead and get the Wheel of D20 clips started because I have to. That's, you know, I have to at least let everybody know that I already finished one of those stories since it was really short. But yeah, so anyway, I will talk to all you guys probably later today when I've made some progress in I'm Glad My Mom Died. Okay, I hope I'm in frame. I think I should be, because unfortunately I no longer can use the view finder on my camera. I think I've explained that before, but I have been out doing grocery shopping and stuff, so it is Saturday. So far this week, I did finally complete I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. Have a lot of feelings, but did end up finishing that, and all my thoughts on that are going to be in my Wheel of D20 vlog, but I wanted to show you guys the haul I got, because I got a lot of cool stuff. Some of it's for my husband for his birthday that I'm not going to show here in case he ends up watching my videos, so no sneak peek in there, Robert. But first thing I want to show is the fact that I finally collected all of the Loki Pop Funkos by getting Sylvie today. I'm so happy. This was the last one out of the entire Marvel Studios, the kind of general series of Pop Funkos that I needed. I have everybody else, and then I have a couple rarer ones. I have one that also came from the newer set. It's the Boastful Loki one. And I have that, and then like I said, I have a little bit of a rarer one that I had found at a kind of I don't know, not necessarily a comic book store, but it was almost like a trade-in kind of store. I don't know, they have a lot of rare ones basically, and I'll leave the store of it down below. It's called Chaos Marketplace. Really cool, guys. But this one I just got at GameStop, and I was really excited because, again, I've been looking for Sylvie for a while and I could never find her, and I was very happy to find her and realize that I didn't already have her, so that's awesome. But also went to a few other places. I did go to the bookstore because I was looking specifically to get a copy of Extasia and Ophelia After All, and I did find Extasia, but I did not find a copy of Ophelia After All there, so I was a little disappointed. But at the very least, what I could possibly do is just get the Kindle version of it from Amazon, which is fine. I did, though, pick up Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao, which I just recently got Zachary Yang, and I didn't already have this one, and I really wanted to get a copy of it. And then I also got a paperback copy of Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. The second book in this series just came out, in the last week and a half or something like that, fairly recently, and I've not read this, and I thought I had the Kindle version of it for the longest time, and it turns out I didn't. And so this paperback was actually pretty cheap. It was $9 for it. I don't know exactly when I'm going to read this, but I would like to try to read it soon because I know that a lot of people really like this as a middle grade series. In particular, I apparently have something stuck in my eye that I cannot get, so I think I got it. But been hearing a lot of great things about this and very excited for the second book. Next, I went to the dollar store. I did grab one other thing that is not in this bag that I basically left downstairs, but I got this cute little rib cage, little Halloween decoration, and a little skeleton hearts hand thing. Super cute. They're $1.25 a piece because now it's a $1.25 store as opposed to the dollar store, but that's neither here nor there. Then I did end up going to Michael's because I was out and about and I wanted to go to see the Halloween collection they had this year. There's one thing, again, that's not up here. It's actually downstairs in the office that you'll see later, but it is one of those little coffin shaped shelving things that you can put little figurines on. You can either, sit it up against something, or you can hanging up on the wall. It's sitting on the desk downstairs, and one of the little figurines I got from the dollar store is like a little ceramic owl that I threw on there. And I think I'm going to try to find some of my bigger crystals to take downstairs to put in that shelf. But I did get a couple other things because these are also going to go on my desk. But I did get this little stack of book looking thing, which the spines of it say Art of Magic, Potion Making, and Magical Theory, which I love this. I'm going to throw that on my desk, I think, if I can find some room. And then the other thing that's going to sit on top of that is this little palmistry hand. I like this. I like these little things a lot. These are really fun. And I don't think I already have one. I thought I might have had one at first, but I don't. So thankfully that's the case. But yeah, I think that these are going to basically sit kind of like that. If I can manage it. I don't know. It depends on how much space I have on my desk already, because there's one spot that, like, where I have my dice sit that is currently uninhabited, but I don't know if there's really too much room that would be comfortable if I was to throw these on there. So worst comes to worst, these will just end up, you know, on my shelves somewhere with all my other Halloween decorations I have. But yeah, that's my little haul from today. And then, like I said, I got groceries. I spent about, what, like 5 or 6 hours out of the house today doing shopping. But yeah, so that's it for right now. I am getting ready to, though, film my only video I need to still film for this week, and then I have some TikToks and Instagram posts to do, and then I still have to record my podcast. But I wanted to check in with you guys here real quick. I don't remember exactly what I'm supposed to start after having finished I'm Glad My Mom Died, but either way, I'll figure that out later tonight, because I am planning on still hosting sprints tonight, but I have to make sure I get everything done beforehand, because it's now getting close to 5 o'clock. I didn't get home until after 3, and then also, Robert and I are puppy sitting. We are actually puppy sitting Oscar's older sister. So they came from the same parents, but she was in the litter that those parents had before Oscar's litter, so she's technically his big sister, and he is ecstatic because he loves her very much, but he's also a male dog. So, any of you that have male dogs that interact with female dogs at any point, you will know what I mean. He is being a bit of a jerk. He will not listen, so it's alright. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with filming so that I can go back downstairs and try to be a little bit more helpful than I am currently with him. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey guys, so it's now 6:45. I still have a little bit of time before sprints are tonight, but I wanted to update you guys real quick. So the book I am going to be working on next that I figured out was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. I'm Glad My Mom Died was for the Wheel of D20 pick for a Gabby pick, and this also completed the Bookoplothon prompts for highest rated books. So 2 books for Bookoplothon down, and 2 out of the 4 books for Wheel of D20 down, which is very exciting. But the next book, like I said, is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. This is going to be counting for Bookoplothon for the prompt Autumn, which is to read something that kind of had autumn vibes. Obviously, this is a, if you don't know anything about this, this is a kind of adaptation sequel to the story from The Nightmare Before Christmas, so automatic autumn vibes from that, because it's a very well-beloved Halloween movie. And this is a fairly short one, so I'm going to only be able to get this done in a couple of days, which is nice. This is also the Barnes & Noble edition, which looks like it contains a little extra thing, which is Sally's Book of Potions, Home Remedies, and Apothecary Cures. And it's like a little recipe book with like a ton of little things in it, which is very exciting. I think, is it signed? It is not, which that's fine. But the Barnes & Noble exclusive apparently comes with that. And I'm very excited to see how this one goes.
Hopefully I'm enough in frame. But I'm currently doing sprints right now. We're on our last sprint, and I have managed to do a few things. So first of which, I got through some of my next Wheel of D20 read, which is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. I'm about a third of the way through this. Really liking it so far, but my thoughts are going to be more so in that, like, normal, because it's part of my Wheel of D20 stuff. I was going to read a poetry book that I was asked to read from the author, but the file's corrupted somehow, so I'm not going to be able to do that this week. But hopefully I'll be able to read it and give you guys some thoughts on it next week, because I did promise to do a review for them, because they're an independent author and I wanted to support them, and it looked like a really good poetry collection, so I was really sad about that. But then I did decide to get started with reading a little bit more of Dark Shade of Magic, this will also have a separate video. This will be for my Finish Your DNF series, but I'm now about 50 pages into this. But yeah, so far it's okay, but I definitely have to get used to the writing style. I don't know, there's something about this book in particular, with it being placed in like versions of London, that is giving me very much Sherlock Holmes vibes, like 19th century kind of vibes. I don't know why that is. I feel like that's mostly because Kell reminds me of like somehow Sherlock, even though he's not Sherlock. And I'm talking like Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock movies Sherlock. I don't know how much I'm going to read tomorrow because of the fact that I will be editing and stuff, but the goal for tomorrow is to get through more of Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, and then be able to then again read more of Dark Shade of Magic when it has been caught up for the day for the reading goal. So basically, I'm reading right now 2 books that are not even really 100% a part of this vlog. I mean, Long Live the Pumpkin Queen is counting for also Bookoplothon, which is nice, but Dark Shade of Magic is not. So, but so far I really am enjoying this one. It's very cute, it's very sweet, and I definitely do feel like this is a very nice sequel to the story of The Nightmare Before Christmas, because I do think it does play very well on the elements that we learn from that. But I'm gonna go film the clip for Wheel of D20 for this one right now, just because I need to get that caught up, and then I need to do a quick clip for the Finish Your DNF video for Dark Shade of Magic. Hey guys, so it is about 1:18 in the afternoon on Sunday. I just finished editing this vlog up to now, essentially, and I'm currently rendering footage for my Wednesday video, which I'm very excited for, but I needed to update you guys because I did get a hold of that author that their ebook I could not read because it was corrupted, and they did send me the PDF of it to my email, so thankfully that PDF is easier to get through. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly read that and let you guys know my thoughts on it. And then I think I might end the vlog at that point just because I have to, you know, obviously finish out the vlog and then, you know, continue with getting the rest of my videos and stuff figured out. And I do still need to film TikToks and stuff. Like, they don't take much filming because most of them I'm having to put pictures up of books for them, but I do need to get 2 of those published today because of the fact that I was supposed to put one out yesterday and I didn't, and I still need to put out the one for today. So that's kind of what I'm going to do with. But the book is called The Joshua Trees. It is a poetry collection by Nieves.
and the subtitle of it is A Collection of Incomplete Poems and Random Thoughts, and it does have a very like Shel Silverstein vibe to it. It looks like, from the way that it's set up, and it's kind of like that flash poetry kind of style. So I'll let you guys know what it's like, but it's going to take me, you know, very little time to move through it, just because it's a poetry collection, and also, like, it's quick poetry. It's not like having to sift through long metaphorical kinds of things. Really good. I think it's going to be very fun, so I'll just let you guys know when I get done with that. Okay, so I just read the entirety of the Joshua Trees. Really didn't take me that long. Maybe took me about 10 minutes to read through the entire poetry collection. But dang, this had some real good poems. Like, I mean, like I said, it's all flash poetry. So think like Rupi Kaur, Amanda Lovelace, you know, the very quick but very powerful and poignant poetry. And this collection really talks a lot about things like anxiety, depression, kind of imposter syndrome, and struggling with things like substance abuse because you're looking for something to kind of fill that hole kind of thing. There were some very hard-hitting poems that I kind of like, I felt like in my soul. Like, it's very easy for me to find those kinds of poems because I relate so much to poetry like this. Like, there's a couple that I really like, first of which being, they always say when it rains it pours, but they never really tell you how bad the flood really is. They just try to sell you an umbrella. Like, that one hurt, like, really, really hard. Like, I just totally understand what that meant. Like, it's very good. Like, if you like that flash poetry style, you're definitely going to like this. And I do wish there was a little bit more of a tie to the Joshua Trees within this, because there are some poems that definitely hit the nail on the head with it relating to being a Joshua Tree, which it's mentioned in the very beginning of this that they are a symbol of survival, resilience, and perseverance. And I totally get that. They are, you know, it is a very resilient tree. It's, you know, a tree that grows in a desert, and that it's, you know, lives for so long despite having very little rain, you know, come through, like, in deserted areas. And I just wish that there were some poems that had a little bit more of a tie to that, because I think there would have been plenty of very well done poems by themselves that could have very easily been tied more to the Joshua Tree. But I think in regards to what the whole collection is about, it's a very well-developed collection. It's a very well-done story of poems that basically all tie into understanding the mindset and the struggles of a person, especially with that of, like, mental illness and the things that, like, you know, and especially contemporary society with, like, things like hustle culture and the idea that, like, you have to do certain things in life to then be seen as valuable, and even in some capacity, like, how people unfortunately kind of drift apart from each other, like people that were in relationships or friendships with people, how eventually as you get older and start doing things that are more on your own and everybody kind of has their own thing going on, that, like, you start to drift apart. And being resilient through all of that, even if it feels like you're still drowning so much. I think it's a very important kind of poetry collection that, again, I think that fans of, Rupi Kaur and Amanda Lovelace would really enjoy, because it's very similar style. It's a very similar idea that goes into, like, the thought process of creating this kind of a poetry collection. So I definitely would give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you, Daniel, the author of this collection, for sending this to me. I really did love it, and I would really love to see your next collection, which they have another collection coming out fairly soon, not sure when, but it is going to be called The Acacia Trees. Anyway, that's going to be it for me for today, because basically, like I said, the rest of the day I'm going to be editing videos and podcasts and TikToks and stuff like that, so I do need to sit and focus on that. But going into next week, basically what I will be continuing with is more of Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. I will be working through my last book for Wheel of D20, which will be The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And more than likely, I will also be getting through, if not the entirety, then very closely the entirety of A Court of Silver Flames, which is going to be very fun. I'm so excited to read A Court of Silver Flames. That's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to see Nesta's point of view within that. All the information for Bookoplothon will be listed in the description, as well as information for the upcoming Mini Greek Godathon. the Instagram page for Daniel's poetry collection so that you can reach out to him about getting a copy of this if you would like to read it. And all the other stuff that I mentioned in this video will be down there as well. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlette in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.